Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session of Courageous Leadership Academy Live. If you're new to the channel here, my name is Dr. Kelly Waltman. I am the founder and CEO of SLR Leadership Consulting. And what we do during these sessions is we talk to different thought leaders and experts about all facets of leadership, being a business owner, and just really trying to set people up for success. So today, I'm excited to have with us Lisa Heintzelman. She is the president of Illuminations Consulting. She is an expert facilitator with a focus on achieving success through lifelong learning and continuous quality improvement. So important. We can't just stay where we are. We have to keep moving forward. Lisa celebrates her passion of being a success consultant, facilitates workshops and success processes, and she coaches individuals to ultimately optimize their success. So we are very lucky, very fortunate to have with us Lisa today to talk about how we can set ourselves up for success. And this is the perfect topic for where we are right now in the calendar year. It's December right now when we're doing this interview. 2020 is about to wrap up. So as you're wrapping up this year and looking at next year, this is the perfect topic. So without further ado, let me bring Lisa into the studio.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Lisa. Hi.
Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time to share your perspective, your expertise, and really help everyone gain some valuable content today. One more thing before I turn it over to you, Lisa, here to just give any more introductory statements you'd like. If anyone has any questions, I noted that in the chat, but if you have any questions, feel free to enter those into the chat. I'll do my best to keep an eye on that and we can address those comments throughout the session. So Lisa, anything else you want to add in terms of, who you are and what you do, the work you do?
I want to just appreciate you having me here today. I'm very excited. I'm Lisa Heintzelman with Illuminations Consulting and as a business sales and leadership coach, I invest my time and energy in empowering individuals and organizations to be successful. So I work with entrepreneurs, small business owners, commission professionals, direct sales, and network marketers to really help you develop your strategy and competitive edge, to think about what problems do you solve, what value do you bring, and why do business with you. That all drives your marketing and your sales process so that you provide the opportunity for customers to buy and clients to engage.
Yeah, that you covered a lot there, and that is all so important. Really thinking about it's so important for leaders and entrepreneurs and business owners, like you said, to really think about the problems that we solve, and that really drives, so much and really drives everything of what we do. So that's fantastic that you really help people hone in on that and fine tune their messaging and really their mission. I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
We really like to buy, and so we don't really buy products and services as much as we buy the results and outcomes and the value and the benefits that they bring us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, why is it so important for leaders and business owners to, as we're thinking all the things you just mentioned, why is it so important for us to implement a strategy? Why is that such a key component for success?
Your strategy really provides inspiration, focus, and direction. And as we think about it, lots of times when we think about developing a strategy, we say, ugh, oh no, why do we need to do that? And we know about a lot of organizations who create strategies and then sometimes put them up on the shelf and don't really use them and spread them across their organization. It's really important for everybody in your organization to know why you're doing what you're doing so that you get the right people doing the right things for the right reasons.
That makes a lot of sense. I think this is in terms of it's similar to when I work with leaders talking about having a leadership philosophy, and it's that guiding compass. You don't want to just kind of wing it. You want to have some kind of compass to guide you along the way. And it sounds, very similar with the strategy that you want to have that compass to guide everything you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, what are some of the key components of, we know we need to have a strategy now. So what are some of those key components of defining a strategy for success?
Yes. And so we want to begin with our vision. What's our
Mhm.
why? What's our big picture? What do we want to become? And then what are our core values that drive that decision making? Those absolutes that we don't waver from. We know through your core values how it is that you're coming to the table and what it is that we should expect as a consumer or a customer or a client. And then your competitive edge, the problems that you solve, the value that you bring, and why do business with you. And then your mission, the what and how to really make that happen. And actually that becomes your strategic business framework. And when I work with my clients on that, it really becomes a one pager. So it's not those 10-page business plans that we don't necessarily know what to do. There are other action steps that we need to put together with a strategic plan, but that framework overall can be that one pager that you repurpose throughout your marketing and within your business to think about why and how you are investing your time and energy to work not only in your business, but on your business.
I love that you really spell that out in like such simple terms. And also the idea of it being just this kind of simple one pager. It's packed with information that's really helpful and it's going to guide people, but it doesn't need to be, yeah, this 30-page manifesto that, that nobody's going to pay attention to anyway. So having this, that I like that idea of that, just this one page um, document that not only helps you and your team, but I would imagine, the people that you're working with as well, that could be something that you would share with them that, they'd be able to review.
Absolutely. In my organizations, and I work with both solopreneurs and then also with teams in organization. And I don't care what level you are within a team. If you are an individual contributor who's on the floor, on the line, doing the work in a manufacturing company or within a technology company or whatever it may be, you should know all the things
Mhm.
around that strategy overall. It's really essential. And then as we grow in that organization to become leaders and supervisors and managers, it's also important for us to know and embrace that because that strategy drives overall why we're doing what we're doing throughout the organization.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I was just reading recently the culture code, and in there he was talking about the need to kind of over message your message, to over communicate with your team. Those things you just mentioned, your core values, your mission, all of those things that are driving what you do, that we think that, people should just know it, but it really is so important to really over communicate that with your team so they know it like the back of their hand. And so I love, again, that idea of it just being this one page document that and maybe it's not literally just one page, but basically the one pager that,
Yeah.
people really can just digest so easily. That's brilliant.
Yes, and you can repurpose that content throughout your branding and your marketing and your sales process. And so each time you have an opportunity to create a profile on a social media platform or to create an ad or a billboard or any other marketing kind of piece, we
Mhm.
repurpose that content through what it is that we do because that way we're really consistent.
Yeah, that's and it makes things a lot easier and simpler, and consistency is key. And why
Yes, yes.
try to keep reinventing the wheel and making things so confusing each time around? So that's a great suggestion and a great strategy. That's really valuable. Um, so one of the things that you talk about, and when I'm in looking through your website, and I think you mentioned it here also, is the idea of a competitive edge. So what does that mean to develop a competitive edge?
So your competitive edge is about the problems that you solve and the value that you bring. Your target market, your ideal clients, your team, your business partners, your strategic partners, your stakeholders. So all of the people who are connected to your business, you can think about it in each of those different buckets of who you have relationships with. And what that competitive edge is really the problems that you solve and the value that you bring, which is over and above the products and the services. Here's my fun thing that I like to say is that we don't really buy products and services as much as we buy the results. And so it's not because we really need the shovel, it's because we want the whole. And so I help my clients to brainstorm really what it is that they are doing for somebody. So while you may care, or I would say not care, that I create success processes through my coaching to help you with, those success processes are the tool that we use. And instead of leading with that as a coaching program or some kind of product like that, I'm helping you to maximize individual, team, and organizational potential. I'm helping you to brand and market and create and implement your sales process across your organization. I'm helping you to develop and implement your strategy. So all of the things that we care about that are the results about generating more revenue, to increase your number of clients, to increase your market share. What are you trying to accomplish? And especially when we think about our competitive edge, it makes it a lot easier for us to bring value and solve problems for our potential clients and customers.
And I think that is, again, really helpful information. And I can see where, again, having that all spelled out and all figured out is going to be huge. Really being intentional about evaluating what it is that you do as a business owner or a leader, why you do it, and defining that competitive edge, and then having that be a part of that strategy. That makes a lot of sense. And it's funny because it sounds so common sense, but I would imagine it's not all that common. That a lot of business owners and leaders, even though we might intuitively know we should do something like that, we probably think, oh, well, we'll get to it when we get to it, or maybe we did it once and we're not revisiting, or again, we're not quite getting to it the right way, and that's where working with somebody like you would be so beneficial.
And one of the reasons why that's so important, and it's not about me and it's not about my company, it's about one of the pieces of value. So one of my competitive edge components is that I can pull out of your head, heart, and soul all of those words and phrases that are there and on Post-it notes and in your notebooks and any other place that you have them, to pull them all together. And the problem that we get in our own way, so myself included, as those individual business owners, we want to put that down on paper if we feel like we should, in the right way. So we would sort of hurry up and do it, come to the table, either writing or typing, whatever you prefer to do, and then try to get that information correct right off the bat. And the problem is that we need to brainstorm that out, and we need to free flow some of that to really bring out those problems we solve and value that we bring to a deeper level. That's not so much about us, but that is about our prospects and our target market. And so when I work with my clients on it, we first explore things about who is your ideal client and your target market, who are your strategic partners that you should be working with and collaborating with to work with and for and on behalf of mutual clients. And then instead of saying, this is what we do, is to stop and think about it from the other perspective of, what are the problems and the issues and the challenges, and what keeps your clients up at night? So
Right.
Think about it from their perspective. And then when we share that information out from our competitive edge in the way that we write those statements, and then use them naturally across our marketing, is all about the client or the customer, and it's no longer about us. You
Right.
might go to somebody's website, or you might see a brochure that says, I, do this, and do this, and I'm so wonderful. And it doesn't tell me anything about me as a consumer. And
Right.
when I read any of that, so yeah, you might be great, but I'm not hearing what's in it for me. And that's the big deal. How do you brainstorm and think about what's in it for me from your client's perspective?
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it is so important to get that fresh perspective and to get those questions and to get, somebody else who can help tease that out of us. Because you're right, we do all get in our own head too much, or we're too invested in the way we've looked at something. And so having somebody to help us through that process, that makes a lot of sense. I interviewed Mark Delaney a couple weeks ago, and
I know,
he
Mark.
talked about, yeah,
Yeah.
he talked about the kind of the same thing when it comes to finding our purpose. And it sounds like that's such a deeply personal thing. Why would we need somebody else to help us there? But he said kind of the same thing, that we get so deep in our own stuff that we often just need somebody else to ask us the right question in the right way, or really help draw that out of us. And so I think that makes a lot of sense and is really helpful, to have somebody else walk us through that process. That makes a
Yes,
lot of sense.
we're often our own barrier or obstacle with those kinds of things. And just think about it: if you had to write down, write something for a bio or an introduction or a story or a resume, let alone having to convert that information to a website and into why you're doing what you're doing, we sit there with a blank slate. It's not something that we've been asked to do on very many occasions, and then to be able to use it out in public in very much of a way. So so yeah, I encourage anybody to sit down to talk with somebody else about what's your why, what's your purpose, and to uncover those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's great. Um, so what are some of the most common mistakes that you see entrepreneurs make?
Well, I think about mistakes, and that the problem is that we don't know what we don't know. So we
Right.
can utilize the tools and resources and our skills and our knowledge out there. And then as we spin that around, as I said, we don't know what we don't know. And what I've noticed throughout the years is that I'm really rescuing people who create their business card, their business, by creating their business card, their website, and doing some kind of marketing, and then saying, whoa, where are my clients? And usually the problem is that they missed creating that strategy to drive all of those things to happen. One of the other parts is on the other side of that, that you might find some great strategies or somebody to help you with, or already be good at it yourself, to do that marketing and that lead generation, and to have people kind of coming in who want to buy your stuff.
Hmm.
And sometimes we don't have a great sales process in place.
Mm,
And so I'm helping my clients to create that marketing and that sales process. So, as you heard in my introduction, that we're providing the opportunity for somebody to buy. And lots of times you'll hear business owners who say, I don't want to sell, or I'm not good at sales, or I don't want to be a slimy salesperson. I've already seen and heard them. I don't want to bug people. Well, you don't really have to if you've developed a competitive edge that's based on the problems you solve and value that you bring, because then we want and need you.
right.
So I'm helping my clients to make an introduction and gain that favorable attention, so they earn the opportunity for a meeting, has a one-on-one, to discover wants and needs, and then make recommendations for next steps to gain that commitment. And one of the other pieces that I think too is we have to decide and to intentionally invest our time and energy in working not only in our business but on our business.
Hmm.
So when we get rocking and rolling and we have these leads coming in and we have all these clients, then we're like, oh yeah, here we go. We're all good to go. And then we say, whoa, as that, moves around. And then all of a sudden there aren't any there because we finished up some of the projects or clients that we were working with. And then we have to scramble and start on that working in our business again from that marketing and sales standpoint. And so creating all the things that's driven by our strategy overall to really help us with working both in and on our business in a bit of a simultaneous kind of way keeps us rocking and rolling in the ways that we need to.
Wow, that was a lot of value in what you just said. That's um wow, yeah, just to think and unpack that. I think especially what you said in the first part there about people have this great idea, this passion, and so they want to start a business, and so they start the business, maybe start a website, get business cards, and then they're not quite sure where they're going from there. And I could see a lot of people falling into that category right now because of COVID and the year being what it is, and so many people looking to either pivot in their career, or maybe they've lost the job and now they're looking to start something on their own. This is the time where so many people are starting businesses, and they probably have a fantastic idea, but if they're not doing that strategy from the beginning, they may not get off the ground. So that makes a lot of sense, and I could see a lot of people really falling into that category right now more than ever, probably.
Oh, absolutely. And that was one thing that I've been really paying attention to over this time as I've been out there marketing. And part of just my why, I'm always fascinated about why people are doing what they're doing, and then making sure that I get the tools, resources, opportunities in their hot little hands so that they can really make those things happen. And so that's been interesting to pay attention to that. And there again, it's not of any fault. And because that's why
Right.
have that fault mistake kind of thing. It's not that. It's that we don't know what we don't know, and we didn't know that we should either be doing it ourselves, which like we said is a little bit difficult to do, or engage with somebody to help to think about why and how we're going to be doing that, and setting up those opportunities for success.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's hard for people when they're first starting out. I see this too in focusing on helping leaders cultivate that leadership skill set that is a very different skill set than being good at your job. And so I think sometimes people, I don't know if it's a pride thing or what it is, where like, okay, so I was really good at my job, so now I should be really good at being a manager, a supervisor, or a leader. It's like, well, it's a different skill set. And yes, you can get there. That's not to say you won't be good at it, but it's okay to need help to cultivate this very specific skill set that's different than the one you had before. And I could see the same thing being true for business owners. They're really good at their zone of genius, the thing that they're really good at, that is the reason they're starting their business, their passion. But I think people then also think, okay, well, since I'm really good at this, I should automatically be able to translate that to being a business person. And again, it's a different skill set, and it's okay to need help getting there. That's not a weakness. It's
Right.
recognizing that this is new territory, and so just getting some help to do that is a-okay, and you should do that. That's not, yeah, anything to be ashamed of.
Right. Well, and nobody's out there telling us all these resources are available to you.
Right.
And so
Yes,
seek them out, and leverage those opportunities that are there.
absolutely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, So, in thinking about then, we know we need a strategy. We're going to go ahead and define our strategy. We've gotten our help doing that. How do we go ahead and effectively implement a strategy?
Well, and so I think about that as we first need to think and plan. So do the brainstorming, in fact, to make that
Mhm.
happen. Then we implement and act. and do that part. And then we are reviewing and reflecting.
Mm,
So we have kind of those three parts that continue to go in a circle because we circle back around for that. So when we have our general strategy overall, which is just like I said, that framework of those four components of your vision, your core values, your mission, and your competitive edge, then we think about how does that affect and drive our branding, our marketing, our sales, our leadership, communication, and teaming to develop those peak performers within our organization. And so we can utilize each piece of that to take a look at each of them and think about the where we are, where do we want to be. As we think about that strategy, then we prioritize some of the things that we need to be working on. And I work with my clients and we create goal planning sheets that are very specific in what are things that aren't necessarily a habit, and where are we and where do we want to be? What do we need to put into place? And so we think about those goals. What are the rewards and consequences to achieve them? What are any of the obstacles or barriers that are keeping us from attaining that goal or to be implementing that practice into a habit?
mm,
and
mhm,
then and then brainstorming what the possible solutions are to any of those barriers or obstacles, and then and then and then looking at those that brainstorm list to create your action steps to put into place. So what has to happen over the next week or over the next month, in fact, to accomplish those particular goals that are all a part of your strategy. And not everything has to be put into place at one time. One of the things I like to think about with that is that it takes 21 days to create a habit. And so implementing a goal to become a habit or a task or a project, you can do that within 30 days by creating your system around making that happen. And we can also there's best practices about focusing on one goal for 100 days. And when you think about 100 days, that's like 3 months. And so again, you can utilize those individual days, weeks, and months to make that happen to achieve that goal. And then certainly some things might be longer goals where we are working on them. And right now, here we are wrapping up 2020 and then thinking, what are we going to do to kick off 2021? And we might have some things that go by quarters and then
mhm.
into what do we want to have accomplished by December 2021. And working some of that time in some of those days and weeks and months to decide why and how we are investing our time can be really helpful to break that into, what can we accomplish in 3 months, and then into those next 3 months that build upon one another.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you highlighted there, breaking it into incremental steps. And so having those bigger vision, those bigger goals, but then breaking it down in incremental steps and revisiting. You don't want to just set this plan and then not look at it. So just like we're continuing to look at our one page, statement of our why and our values, continuing to look at those goals because top of mind is tip of tongue. So you're going to keep looking at those things. And so I love that you mentioned that about revisiting. I think that's a great point. And two, like you said, you're not going to tackle everything at one time. I tell people the same thing when it comes to enhancing leadership skills. We do the same thing, action planning and goal setting and thinking about, okay, what small things can you do today, to make a new habit, or what small thing can you implement today, and having those kind of micro goals or those smaller action steps. Because yeah, we all think about that. If we try to change 10 things, if we came up with a list of 15 New Year's resolutions, um, the likelihood of actually being able to stick to any of them is going to be slim to none. But if you pick one or two and you really laser focus in on them, like you said, for 30 days or 100 days, well, those are going to stick. And then they've now become a habit. You've accomplished that and you can pick one or two more. So I think that that's a great point, especially as people are starting out. They try to maybe take it all on at once, and you're not going to be successful that way.
Right. And you made me think of something else that I share with my clients. On that one pager, I suggest that you read it in the morning, live your day, and then read it in the evening and reflect upon that I was knowing, loving, and living it, and I was making things happen. And I know that strategy and I know that goal setting and achieving are some of those words that make us go, eh. And so with that, it can be a rather natural process that comes to
Hmm.
that circles back around to why are we doing what we're doing, and knowing, loving, and living it, and reflecting upon, oh my gosh, I brought value and I solved problems for people. And what does that circle
Yes.
back around to? Your competitive edge. and
Yes.
and so it's all about the action that's happening by living intentionally and being
Yeah.
meaningful and purposeful.
Yeah, that reminds me, that was one of the other things earlier that I wanted to touch on that you mentioned, was that people sometimes are hesitant to kind of sell, that they're reluctant to go into that salesy mode because they feel, a lot of people feel icky about sales. But as you've mentioned, it has been the theme throughout this, is that it really is about solving problems, adding value to people's lives, and it really is about service. And if that's your focus, and as you just mentioned, if you are really focused on the bigger picture and the values that are your core values and the value you're adding to people's lives, you don't have to feel icky about that, because you're helping people and you want to help people, in whatever that is, whether that is designing the best shovel that's going to help them dig that hole the best, or whether it is, yeah, something that's more of a life service, whatever it is, you're providing a service to people and adding value to their lives. And so you should feel good about that. You should feel proud of that. And sharing that is an act of service.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, so in thinking about, I know some of the work you do, individual consulting. I think you also do some peer groups, right? Do I have that right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Recently, I launched Strategy Power Sessions for Success, which is a best practices and accountability partner group. We meet weekly to explore best practices and then talk about what did we do last week? What do we have coming up next week? And it's really important for us to have accountability partners, mentors, coaches, people, somebody that you can be bouncing something on and off of each other. And it really provides the opportunity for you to live your purpose, to create your reality, to brainstorm big ideas, to turn dreams into actions, to overcome challenges, and to strategically pivot like we may
Mm,
have had to over this year. And all of that focus can be around lifelong learning and how we are developing personally, professionally, and throughout our business and our organization, all with a focus of how are we maximizing individual, team, and organizational potential.
I love that, because there is something so powerful, like you said, about that accountability, having some pure accountability, having somebody that's going to say, okay, you said last week you were going to do this. How did that go? Having that, but having that safe space, to do that brainstorming, to have those discussions, to say, oh, I feel like maybe I need some help in this area, or I feel like I'm struggling in this area. Again, I think it's common for leaders, business owners to be hesitant to demonstrate that vulnerability and feel like they have a space to be able to do that. But it's so important. I do the same thing for people that I work with. It's a safe space to talk through those difficult conversations that you need to have with your team, to role play that conversation. Like, okay, can we practice this so I can feel more confident going in? And so I think that there's something very powerful, and I love that you're providing that service for people, that they can do the same thing with talking through business strategy and working on their business. I think that's great.
Yes, and we call it about working with like-hearted and like-minded people.
I love
And
that.
what happens at power sessions stays at power sessions. And so it's that professional group that, while you might share something that is that is confidential, that's
Hmm.
what we're doing there together. And we have this segment in it that's called 5 minute power seats. And so we rotate through the group, and you bring best practice or question or challenge or a topic that you want to explore. You open up the topic to the group, and then the group then brainstorms things about that topic over that 5 minute period of time. And then people can go have one-on-ones if we're hearing ideas, or give links or share information about resources and tools on those particular topics.
That's great. That's a fantastic resource. I love that you're doing that. Um, so again, revisiting the sales conversation, that I know is, again, some people are so very uncomfortable. Just like when I talk about feedback, I know people get uncomfortable at the idea of feedback, and so with sales, I know people tend to get uncomfortable. It's another one of those words that kind of makes people want to put the blanket over their heads. But what can business leaders do to help promote sales? Like, what are some strategies they can use?
Yes, and it's interesting, and I touched on this before. Is that the ultimate is when you are providing the opportunity for those customers to buy and those clients to engage. And so, if you are sharing out your value in any of the ways that you are marketing, then you can do that through networking and through social media, direct mail, all types of media advertising. And you don't necessarily have to invest that much dollars in some of that advertising that you're doing. We need to think about it from the time, energy, and dollars that we're investing for the return that we're getting on that sales process. But here's the thing. I call it a buying selling process. So you're out there making an introduction somehow in that first way that you are meeting the people, through social media, through networking, any of the advertising that you're doing. And then you keep showing up and
Mm.
gaining favorable attention, so that we're not doing drive-by kinds of things. And so let's do a little quick thing about social media. Hear the words that it's called social media. It's not called post media. So we're not just posting our stuff up there and saying, buy my stuff, and expecting people to click and come back to you. So it's social media that we are sharing educational content out there, things that are valuable and about solving problems, tips, ideas, so that we can think about them. And what you might want to do is write a sentence that's about the content that you're sharing, and then ask a question that creates a call to action of what it is that I'm supposed to do now. So I can think
Mm.
about something, and then I would maybe want to call you or reach out, or whatever the click things are, or whatever those next steps should be. So make sure that you're doing that during that time of gaining favorable attention. And then you want to earn that appointment to discover wants and needs because you were so cool in the part of making that introduction and gaining that favorable attention that that person wants to sit down and have a one-on-one with you. And so then during that one-on-one, we're not throwing up all over them about all the great things that we have. We are saying, Kelly, tell me about Kelly and SLR leadership and why are you doing what you're doing and who
Right.
are you helping out? What do you have going on? And so then that way we're asking those questions. So then at the end of the conversation, when you're really cool during discovering wants and needs, then that person at the end is going to say to you, how can you help me? What are next steps? Where do I sign up? Because
Right.
they're understanding that and hearing that from what it is that you're asking about, where they are and where they want to be. So then you can review your notes, make those recommendations for next steps in whatever way it is in your model of your business through that scope of work or proposal or contract or just sharing ideas and saying, hey, you want to do this? And then gaining that commitment to say, all right, let's get started. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wow. Again, a lot of really valuable insight and content there. And I love again how it just all keeps coming full circle. This idea of when you understand the problems that you're solving for the people that you want to serve, that's a great way to, share that information and provide that value, like you're talking about through social media. That's such an easy way to let people know how you can do that and provide some of those pieces of information that are going to help them. And so you're not only doing service right then and there before you've even made a sale, you're providing some value and some service, but then you are establishing that credibility with people, and again, you're making it about them. And I think that's great because that not only is a great model for business success when it really is all about your customer, but that's such a great perspective for leadership in general because it really is it's about your team, it's about your customer, it's about the other people, it's not about you. And as soon as you're making it about you, you've lost it. You've lost everybody. Yeah. Um, so what are your top do's for business strategy, business success? What are your top tips that you want to share with people?
Okay, here you go. Just have a few as we wrap this up. So
Yeah.
you want to develop, implement, and reflect upon your strategy. And so we've talked about that. So it becomes a
Hmm.
circle. And you want to provide the opportunity for those customers to buy, those clients to engage, and your team members to be peak performers. And overall, you want to work smart, be efficient, effective, and productive to achieve results, those personal, professional, business, and organizational results, and then make sure that you're celebrating often. So many times, entrepreneurs are quick on to the next thing, and we don't stop and say, wow, that really worked. And one of the reasons to think about that really worked is because also as entrepreneurs, we kind of get off onto the next thing. And we might get bored with ourselves where our clients and our prospects aren't. And there's so much noise out there that we need to keep sharing out and doing what those right things are. So make sure that you're celebrating those strengths while you're thinking about those areas for growth and then some of those future ideas to develop. And then my big thing that I always say is choose to invest your time and energy in the activities to achieve the results that you desire.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really helpful. And as I think about all of that, this idea of just being very intentional, I think that's really probably a key word of this whole conversation is being
Yes.
intentional. And that's a great way too to think about just being very intentional about how we're investing all of our resources, our time, our energy, those resources, being intentional about how we do that and being consistent.
Yep. We want to be intentional, and then that has us be meaningful and purposeful for and
Yeah,
with and on behalf of our prospects and our clients.
that's great. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I think that's about it. Like I said,
Okay, yeah.
go out there, choose to invest your time and energy in activities to achieve the results that you desire. Go do it, make it happen. Right now, you still have some time to think about how you're going to wrap up 2020 and kick off 2021. So if you'd like, reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation with you to find out why you're doing what you're doing or what it is that you want to do, because I want you to be able to pursue your passion and to enjoy that time and financial freedom that you want to be doing, why you want to do what you want to do every day, all the time.
That's awesome. I love, Lisa, that your passion for helping people just shines through. You can tell that you really are driven and passionate about helping people be successful, and that's fantastic. I love it.
Thank
Um,
you.
so where you're welcome. Where I will put links in the video description, but just to I always like to have my guests share, where can people find you? Where's the best place to connect with you?
So I am on LinkedIn. If you are on LinkedIn, underneath my name, Lisa Heintzelman, I have my website, illuminationsconsulting.com, and I am on Facebook as well. If you would like that, you can reach me at my phone number at 717-571-4644. And all I say is, I don't care what you call me. I just want you to call me. Reach out. Let's have a conversation.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. This tons of information. I hope people really not only just kind of listen to this, but pause and really reflect on what you're saying, and that because and just jam packed with lots of amazing information and strategies. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time. And yeah, I wish you all the best as we wrap up 2020 and head on into a new year.
Yeah, thank you very much. And you did a great job thinking about the questions and topics that you wanted to explore today, and ended up picking some favorites for me. So I
Oh,
really
good.
appreciate it very much. So great conversation with you. And I celebrate the value that you're bringing organizations as well through leadership and team and organizational development. It's so important. And you made some good points before, because we promote our super workers to then be supervisors and become great managers. And it's a different skill set that we're coming from our technical aspects and then needing to do the thinking and problem solving and decision making. And it's so very important. So I celebrate the value that you're bringing organizations as well.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely.
And I
Have a
promise I
great
didn't pay her to say that.
Well, happy Friday out there,
Happy Friday to
and
you.
have a great weekend. Enjoy.
Thank you, you too. Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.